Good morning.
Guys, happy Thursday. Hope all is well. Not been on a red light, green light call for a couple of weeks. I've been traveling and I'm still traveling. It's nuts. I was in Dallas yesterday on some very secret, very urgent business. Can't tell you right now, but I'll tell you one day. And I got back 2:30 a.m. this morning. If you're in upper echelon, you're on your Aura ring, you should be checking your sleep stats. Mine are not looking too good today, but it is what it is. And then tomorrow I go back to the UK for a few days, and then I'll be back here in Florida probably this time next week. And it's beautiful out here. I got to tell you, a couple of other things. Because of my green card status, and it's taking like freaking forever. I have to get my driving license renewed every 90 days. Because of my ESTA and my I-94, they'll only give me a license for like the period that I'm legally allowed to be in the country. So I had to keep getting it renewed. So trying to deal with the DMV this morning, absolutely sleep deprived, was not great, but we did it anyway. Yesterday was a really interesting day, guys. And I just want to talk to you about something before we get into some deal reviews. Have you guys ever heard me talk about test days, right? So test days are days where you kind of think everything's going wrong and all these kind of problems kind of hit you. And what most people do in life is they take those challenges and they let themselves get worn down, and they don't execute because they're in a poor state and they just can't get things done. And then they go into like a negative spiral. And, you know, when stuff like happens to me like this, and yesterday morning, I flew into Dallas really late Tuesday night. I stayed in this hotel that was literally like from the 1960s. They had no USB chargers for my phone. I was in a rush to get to the airport because I had to have something fixed on my Maserati. You know what they say about imported cars. So I was late getting to the airport, and I forgot my glasses. I forgot my spare contact lenses. I forgot all my chargers. So not a good start to the day, right? And then the Uber drivers driving me from the hotel to the law firm where I'm having the meetings. And he takes me to a completely different place. So I'm completely lost in the middle of nowhere. And then at the same time, I had 3 simultaneous deals that were like all kind of hit the rocks, right? 2 purchases, one in Econ Folio, one in KOD, both needed major like pivots in the deal structure and how that was going to work. So I've got all this stuff, like my attorney's calling me like, where are you? Like, we're all waiting for you. And I'm like, I don't know. And then I'm literally switching between 3 other phone conversations to tell this guy like where to go. So I'm kind of under a lot of pressure at this moment in time, right? And I'm texting other people as well. And I sat back, right? I just turned the phone off. I sat back and I thought, right, Carl, this is a test day, right? This is one of those days where you are going to emerge victorious, like the absolute champion that you are. So just get on with it, right? Just break it down and get things done. And I got to tell you, right, when I got through the rest of the day, I got to the airport like 7 p.m. I flew home from Dallas to Orlando, and I had to drive back. I got in at like 2:30, and I'm sat there and I'm just kind of like relaxing and kind of just reflecting on the day, which is something that I do. And I just thought, what an incredible day. I could have let today be an absolute disaster. Everything could have gone wrong. It could have put me in a terrible funk. But I made the decision to be a winner today, right? I made the decision to win and be successful and get the outcomes that I wanted to do. And often in deals, you have a choice, right? Make that choice. I want to close this deal. I want to be a champion, or I'm going to let this deal consume me and I'm just going to wither on the vine, right? So you have those choices in your life. So despite not having a lot of sleep, I'm in a pretty chirpy mood today because of all the incredible stuff that went on yesterday. So welcome to the call, everybody. Let's go to a couple of absolute legends in this community. 2 people that I'm proud to call my friends, and one of them's a great business partner, and I'd love to partner with the other one day. So let's introduce Dan Giordano and Steve Holland. Guys, you are up next.
All right, you guys able to see this?
Yeah.
Perfect. Great. So I want to introduce you to what we affectionately call creative capital. Creative capital started when Dan and I, through Protege, found that we were in the same space but distracted doing different things, and so this partnership really emerged as a marketing roll-up opportunity, with both of our backgrounds being in the marketing space. And so as I understand, Carl, that some of you guys have seen a part of this presentation in an earlier phase in the Arizona event. So hopefully we can help color in some of the missing pieces since that presentation, where we are today and what we're looking for, and you guys will get a little bit more of a whole picture on this. So the working team that we have on this, as Carl mentioned, my friend and partner Dan Giordano, over 20 years of experience in all aspects of marketing. I call him the guru of growth. He is a consulting and mastery wizard at figuring out ways to optimize marketing and best practices within a company to generate revenue and to grow. I myself come from a professional services background, where I managed a couple $100 million in assets before transitioning into the M&A space. I did have the opportunity to work in what I call M&A for M&A, and that is mergers and acquisitions for marketing and advertising. It's a mouthful, so hence the abbreviation. And got the sort of cut my teeth in the M&A world, specifically in this marketing space. And on this particular deal, we brought in another protege who is helping, and what you'll see will be a very valuable aspect of this business. That is Chris Daly, who is exposed in the Web3 and crypto space, particularly in the emerging micro niches of DeFi and the like. And so that's going to be really important for this particular deal. The business at hand, we're affectionately calling the Lego Chain.
Nice.
Code name Lego Chain. And what they do is they're a relatively new company founded in Toronto, Canada. And they're a Web3 focused agency providing social media marketing, content creation, SEO, and pretty much a full service marketing company exclusively serving the Web3 space. And this is pretty exciting, as you guys, if anybody's been following the recent little bull run that we're experiencing in the crypto market. These guys have a lot to do with the marketing of the companies that get to benefit from the downline of things like Bitcoin. And so they specialize in this space. A few things that is different from perhaps a normal marketing company when it comes to Web3 is the importance of community and influencers. It doesn't differ too much from what we have in Protege. The idea of community in a web digital world is in and of itself becoming a more and more valuable thing. How do you curate and create community amongst people that now, with geography being blown apart, are connected all over the globe? And so these guys really specialize in coming in, creating a community aspect, whether it's through Discord or Slack channels or anything of similar nature, and creating community around emerging technology. And so some of their superpowers we found they're absolutely crushing in their space. Some specifics about the company is they've worked again with NFT projects, crypto exchanges, metaverse, as well as I mentioned, some other emerging technology in blockchain and DeFi, in the blockchain DeFi world. Average project size typically runs around $22,000 per project. A lot of their current business comes through their website. They do a little bit of advertising, but they're actually launching a new website, which has taken advantage of some ways. I guess I'll say they're relaunching the website in a way that optimizes SEO and efficiencies a little bit better. This is something that we anticipate is actually going to really bounce back some of their fluttering revenue in the recent months, and so we're pretty excited about that. In terms of clients, you may recognize some of these names. They work with big brands in the space, and like Bybit and others. And they have really established a great reputation in the space as well. Client concentration is really comfortable. Their largest client only represents about 5%, which was a concern going in, but they just continue to find new business within the space. They currently are actively serving about 26 clients today. Some of their strategic advantages are they've got the largest marketing team on the planet in Web3 servicing this niche. And what that means is, as we've taken a deep dive into their team utilization, they're really, really good at sourcing talent, at growing, and growing their efficiencies within the business. They are not spending a ton of capital on team, but finding people who really bring expertise and efficiencies. I want to touch on something if we have time later in the deck, but just some high bar things that I want to point your attention to. They've survived 2 bear markets, something that we've thought about as we think about the perhaps instability of the crypto world. And so seeing that they've been able to be through a couple of different cycles and they're still continuing to grow were some things that really attracted us to this deal. In terms of strategic advantages, we found that they have some proprietary tools that they use internally that are, quite frankly, could become SaaS tools spinoffs. And they're only beta testing this at the moment. They have a version of this that is live, and they're getting live feedback on it. We believe this is actually a whole different product line that can be used for marketing agencies that leverage influencer marketing, and especially in the crypto world, but also outside of that particular niche. So that makes it really, really attractive with some other low-hanging fruit for us to create new revenues of business. In terms of the financials, I'll jump over to the one sheet, and we'll dive in here. They've had some pretty steady growth in the last couple of years since their infancy, having only been a couple of years old. They were able to complete 2022 with a little over $3 million in revenue, and seen quite a bit of that come down to the bottom line. So this is a high margin business. They're able to keep that sustainability as they grow, and they're able to play with because of their contractor model with overseas talent. They're able to sort of play with their expenses as the market goes up and down. And so that level of flexibility and agility in a changing environment has been really valuable. This is currently a Toronto-based company. We do intend to move it to the States upon acquisition, and we're seeking some counsel on how to best do that, given the nature of both their doing business in fiat and in crypto. It is one of the unique things about this business that had us scratching our heads on trying to make sense of their financials when first looking. As those who were in Phoenix may recall, we were a little fuzzy on the financials of this deal at the beginning. We later found out that it is because they're doing business in both fiat and crypto, which makes financial partners for this a really interesting play, because an investor can essentially invest in this company with us in using fiat currency, but benefit by any crypto appetite that they might have because we're doing business in both currencies. So there's some really unique opportunities with how we're thinking about this business for the future. We are acquiring 87.5% of this business. We're keeping the current CEO, who is a very young guy at right around 30 years old, on board, who needs a little bit of mentoring and direction. And so by coming in alongside of him and his senior team, we're hoping to take his business to the next level. And there's some low-hanging fruit that we've been able to identify in how he runs finances and team leadership meetings, as well as exposing him to some other people in the space that we think will benefit him. He listed this business is a listed business through a broker. It is a broker deal, and it was originally listed at $5 million, which we believe was a little bit lofty. as you can see, we've played with the numbers of what the average of his EBITDA over different terms are. On a 3-year term, it makes a little bit more sense. They were listing it based on last year's numbers alone, which obviously inflates the asking price a little bit. And we can come back to this. I just for the purposes of finishing up our deck, we did get this deal under LOI for $2.4 million.
Nice.
We were able to negotiate seller financing on this deal at 0% interest for just about $750,000. A big contentious moment of our negotiation was the amount of working capital we were going to leave in. As you saw on the previous page, the business currently has about $1.4 million in cash in the business. We wanted to keep as much of that as possible, and this in the negotiations we had never brought it up, but our offer included all of the cash, and actually caused quite a firestorm with the broker that we would even offer such a thing. I ended up speaking to the president of the brokerage in an attempt to save the deal. She reached out, livid that we would even make such an offer. I then had to explain the difference between closing a business and taking all the money out of the business and keeping the working capital in the business, and why that's important. We were able to turn the deal back around. It took about 25 different offers for us to get this thing over the line, but we eventually got it with 66% of the existing cash to be left in the business as working capital. And so what Dan and I are seeking to do is to find a partner to come in for the remaining $1 million for 25% stake. And we're leveraging some of that capital to essentially leverage down the buyout of the business.
Wow.
So what that looks like for our 25% partner, in terms of distributions, we believe that on some what we believe to be some conservative forecasts, we believe we can restore our capital partners' equity or cash to break even by February of 2027, just over 3 years, while maintaining the 25% equity gives their equity value significantly more than what they're putting in. And so that's where we are today. We have this great saying: if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, to go together. So we're interested in partnering with people who can help take this thing to the next level on our emerging platform.
Great job. And like Mark's presentation, phenomenal deck, phenomenal deal. Absolutely one of the best businesses I've seen presented on this platform, right? So I really like the deal. Good job negotiating a deal that's a lot more palatable based on those lofty valuations. Let me talk you through a couple of concerns I would have, right? So before I do that, if you'd have seen the deal structure I pitched on Tuesday in the advanced track, would you have run this negotiation differently? Because we're closing on a real estate coaching business, very, very similar to this, right? Super high growth, lofty valuation, and we had to get ultra creative on how we were actually going to do it. If you'd have had the benefit of that training from Tuesday, would you have done the negotiation differently?
Well, I think we learned a couple things from this negotiation. To be frank, this was probably the most back and forth negotiation I've ever been a part of. Yeah. We offered initially 3 offers on this deal that were quite spread, and he countered with 3 offers. Actually, he countered with 5 offers back, and it sort of went back and forth. So at one point, it became very convoluted as to what offer we were actually negotiating on when, and there were a lot of different ideas around how we could structure this. Hindsight is always 20/20. I think that there was definitely some room that some things that we left on the table with this. I'm happy in general that we were able to get such a significant discount on what was a broker deal. And I do think that we're positioned really well. As you can see, our cover ratios are fine, but I do think that there was opportunity that we could have been a little bit more intentional about how we were thinking about the cash in the business, and what are actually close into your point on Tuesday's training, the closing price today versus what it could be in another year or two.
Yeah, so a couple of things, right? So if you look at that $1.4 million of cash on hand, right, how much of that is actually crypto versus fiat currency?
So the cash on hand is cash. They have
Okay.
additional assets that are crypto that currently aren't all being considered in the business.
No. Yeah.
Again, one of the difficulties with finding the financial position of this business was that he had been keeping certain crypto uh, investments off of his balance sheet. And so it was
Yeah.
difficult to find what his positions were and where ledgers were to find
Yeah.
out what does he actually own within the business.
Yeah. So I think so I absolutely love this deal. This is a phenomenal business, and yeah, I really like it. The two challenges I think you're going to have, right, are number one, this is I think this is going to be a really tricky deal to finance, right? Like the SBA are not going to do this deal. I think the only way you're going to get this deal away is I think you've got to go to a family office that's really hot on crypto right now. So the last two family office events that I went to, um, the two like really hot industries that they're focused on right now is healthcare and crypto, the whole Web3, DeFi, decentralized exchange model. And you know, I've never seen a marketing agency like this that's really got hold of the crypto space and is doing all the things that need to happen. Because like if you forget like digital stores of value like Bitcoin, for example, or stable coins, and you look at the blockchain and you look at all the different layers of the blockchain from Ethereum all the way down to a lot of the different brands that you had on that chart, essentially they're technology companies, right? Yeah, they trade in crypto. That all these tokens on the blockchain effectively, like, it's like they've already IPO'd, right? There's a market, there's a liquid market for the value of that company. And I think having a marketing agency drive those businesses forward, because most cryptos are, they're not really businesses, they're technologists that are really clever and they do all these different things. They don't run them like proper businesses. So when I see professional service companies like this really plugging into the crypto market and Web3 and really helping businesses, you know, become real and profitable is really important. So I think the two challenges you're going to have is, number one, funding this thing. There's a lot of pushback, as you know. It's a lot worse in England. It's not as bad in the States, but you know, the SEC and the banking regulators in America, they're still not really all that keen on people taking fiat currency out of the monetary supply and putting it onto the blockchain, where, you know, it's outside of the purview of the IRS and all those different things. So for that reason, a lot of capital that's SEC regulated, you know, might have an issue with this. But I think going to a family office who might do a quasi debt equity structure on this with you, I think would be the place to go. That's what I would do. And then the second thing is, and David Girolt mentioned this one of the last chats, but it was on my notes to talk about, is I think it's always dangerous in a business like this where you're getting your revenue as a mix of cash and crypto, right? You know, cash is cash and crypto is volatile, right? And some of these tokens, like, I think it's a great USP for a business like this to go to market and say, well, hey, you know, you can pay us our retainers, you can pay us our fees, you can pay us in crypto if you want. Like, what I would do if this was my business is I would liquidate to fiat currency immediately and book that as revenue. I think the temptation with something like this is you get really excited about these projects, you get really into the ethos of these clients, and you think, well, you know what, that token, it's going to like blow up. I'm going to hold that, and it sounds like these guys have already done that, which is why you had the issues in Phoenix, that, you know, you've got a business that's holding a certain amount of crypto, which is volatile, right? So I think you need to make that decision. Moving it from Canada to US is pretty straightforward. I can connect you with. He's not a protege. He was in one of my earlier programs, the Empire program. He's a Canadian. He did it the other way. He bought a supplements company from the States and moved it back. So there's a lot of passporting legally and tax and stuff and compliance, but between the two countries. So all in all, really like the deal. I just think there's a couple of things that I would try and figure those out ahead of time. I would definitely go get an investor stroke debt lender that's a family office that's going to be your main partner in this. And then I would make sure you've got the protocols in place, for me to put all that crypto into cash as soon as you can. But really like the deal. Jeremy Bronson, are you a crypto guy?
A little bit. And actually what I was gonna say is, Stephen, I know Dan was in Phoenix. I don't know if you were, but Dane spoke about crypto. He did a presentation, so I don't know if you're connected with him or not. I actually talked to him yesterday in terms of like what they're doing with crypto, but they have a whole network that they're part of that basically are all people looking to invest in this type of stuff with Web3, crypto, DeFi, all that type of stuff. He might be a great person to connect with to see if he has any connections in the space, because yeah, I think I agree with Carl. The hardest part is going to be raising that $1 million, because you've got to find people that understand this space, and those types of things. So family office is going to be a good place, but I think he would be a good connection too, to see if he knows anybody that might be able to help you on this in terms of raising the capital. So
cool.
Yeah, I appreciate
two other people, Steve, I want to give you just before I forget is Vincent Yoda, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so definitely chat with Vincent Yoda. He's like red hot on this market, and then Michael Garvey. I had dinner with him with a bunch of other people in New York last week. He's one of our most successful proteges. He's absolutely like red hot on this, and he's always investing in and around the crypto market. So he'll have a bunch of big check writing investor partners potentially. So I'm definitely going to connect you with Mike Garvey for sure. I think he could add a lot of value to this. He'd love this deal, by the way.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Just to make a couple quick comments about what you said. The only revenue the only money that they're taking in to the business that is not fiat is being used as part of their cost of goods sold. So in the influencer marketing space, it is very common for influencers who will often promote either a new cryptocurrency or an exchange platform or some
the tokens, right?
They always prefer to be paid in crypto. They don't want to get paid right, because they're influencers in the space. They obviously believe in the technology. So the only income that he's receiving that is not fiat based is directly being paid back to those influencers for the influencer marketing. Everything else is either cash, with one exception of there might be some stablecoin things that he is receiving from some of his companies. But he and his team have told us, again, we're verifying this right now in our due diligence, that they don't receive a crypto as payment, which would be a huge temptation in this space, to have a new technology come and say, hey, marketing company, we would love to you to do marketing services, and in exchange, take our some coins of our new platform that we're about to launch before it becomes this next big thing. And they've had to really be disciplined to say, no, we're not going to do that. I appreciate it. That sounds like a great opportunity. We have hard costs, and for those hard costs, we have to have hard money. So from what we've seen so far, the team has been really intentional about taking actual cash for actual projects that they're working on, but they are willing to pass through a cryptocurrency if it's being used for the marketing purposes for that particular company that they're using. So I just want to make that quick distinction. The other thing that comes to mind too is that this has been negotiated and valued as a marketing company. We actually got this a little bit less than either one of these three valuations that we have up here. We bought it. It's been negotiated at about a 2.5 multiple on $708,000 of EBITDA, which is less than the 3-year average, including their startup year 3 years ago. However, to your point, even though it's a marketing company, a professional services company, we believe with the SaaS tool that they have, along with the market that they're serving, that there's an opportunity to actually reevaluate downline this business as a technology company providing professional services. So the arbitrage opportunity in this business is not just to say this is a marketing company that we buy at a 2.5x and we sell at a 3 or 4. We believe that the multiple is going to exponentially grow over the next couple of years as we grab some of this low-hanging fruit, actually start using some of the technology that they built proprietarily and internally for their use, and using it as an actual offering in the market. Their team is unbelievable, Carl. They when they have a client come in through their doors and they have something that their team learns that they need to apply to the next offer, they have an entire internal process to capture that information, update a Bible or an SOP that governs that particular area. It gets implemented in the next training with anybody who onboards, and the very next client, even if it's the next day that they're interviewing another client, it's already implemented, all without senior leadership even knowing that the implementation has taken place. And so their systems and processes are extremely refined that we hope to be able to leverage. How are they doing this rapid SOP development and implementation in some of the other businesses that we're looking to buy as well?
Awesome. I'm just loads of really cool comments coming in here. I'm a bit of a crypto nerd, as you know, so I'm literally like responding to all this stuff. So great deal, great presentation again. So guys, get your votes in if you haven't done so already. So well done. Don't have time to kind of go around. I'm 12 minutes late for another call, and my business partner is literally like screaming at me on text, like, "Where are you?" But so I've got to go.